I charge up to $20,000 for my marketing strategies, and most fractional CMOs I see are winging their strategy process and massively undercharging because of it. In this video, I'm walking you through exactly how I build strategies, the phases involved, and the mistakes I see other CMOs make along the way. So let's get into it. I have been building strategies as a CMO for so many clients over the past 5 years. And in that time, I have charged anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000, depending on the size and scope. So, a lot of CMOs that I see are either massively undercharging for what they do, or they don't have a process. So, their strategy either isn't landing, it's not getting results for their client, or they're kind of stalling and stuck and thinking to themselves, like, how do I charge? Like, what does it actually look like to do a $10, $15, $20,000 strategy? So, I'm going to walk you through the 4 phases that are in my strategy process. Number 1 is discovery. Then we go into strategy development, delivery, and then alignment and next steps. So I'm going to walk you through each of these phases and the mistakes that I commonly see people make along the way. So phase 1 is discovery, and this is the most important phase. It's definitely the one that I see people spend not enough time in. And I really want to underscore that before I do anything, before I write a single line, I'm diving deep into my clients' businesses. I want to deeply understand their offers, their audience, their entire business. So I'm looking at team, I'm looking at offer suite, channels that they're on, and how things are performing, and what's worked in the past and what hasn't. And I make sure that I'm very comprehensive here because it saves me so much time in the long term. The better I understand the full picture, the better my strategy is going to be, and the easier it's going to be to actually build it out. So, the first mistake that I see people make here is taking clients' words. So, if you're a marketer, this is probably familiar for you. Clients will come in often with strong opinions about what they do need or don't need or who they need to hire. And a lot of marketers end up just going with it. But our job as marketing leaders, particularly as CMOs, is not to validate what the client thinks. It's to come in with no bias and look at everything ourselves and form our own perspective, even if it contradicts theirs. So I'll give you an example. I had a client once who was convinced Instagram was not working and they were about to drop the channel entirely. So when I actually looked at what was going on, there was a lot of low-hanging fruit and a lot of very obvious gaps that I could see as to why the channel wasn't performing. And in fact, for their offer and their audience, there was so much potential on that channel. So it wasn't that Instagram was the problem, it was the strategy and the execution of the channel. And if I had just taken her word for it, I would have built an entire strategy around a wrong assumption and cut a channel that actually is now very lucrative. So that's the difference between being a strategic leader and being an order taker. We want to make sure we're doing our own discovery and coming in and advising. Okay, so that's the first one. But there's another mistake in this phase that I see just as often, and that's not pressure testing the goals. So again, clients are going to come in with big, ambitious goals often. And I see a lot of the times marketers and CMOs take these clients' goals and just say, okay, let's do this. How are we going to do this? Okay, they want to hit $3 million this year, and you build a plan to do that. But part of our job as marketing leaders and CMOs is to pressure test that and ask ourselves, is this realistic given where they're starting from? Is their team capable of executing what it would take to get there? And do they even have budget to support this kind of a marketing strategy that would require them to actually reach that goal? Because if you build an entire strategy around a goal that was never achievable, that's just going to fall back on you. And discovery is where we really get the chance to dig into the revenue, dig into the metrics, and really start to look at what's going on and what might be possible in the near term for that client. Okay, so once discovery is done, then you move into phase 2, which is strategy development. This is where I'm actually building out the strategy. And the thing I want to say here is no two strategies look the same. Every single one is extremely bespoke, built around that specific business, their goals, their team, and where they are right now. There's no template I'm pulling off the shelf. I mean, I have a template for building it out, but it's not a templated strategy. And that's really important because that's what justifies this price point. So when I'm building it, Another thing I want to mention here is my job is not to document and write down every single possible thing they could do. That is going to completely overwhelm them, and that actually defeats the purpose, right? Our job is to identify the highest leverage opportunities inside their business, the things that are actually going to move the needle given where they are and what's actually possible for that size of business. And this is where the next mistake comes in. So, mistake number 3, building a strategy that is too big. So, when you go deep into a business, and I know you're going to relate to this as a marketer, you're going to see everything that can be done in that business, and it's tempting to put it all in. And if you struggle at all with imposter syndrome, or you're like, oh my God, Jess, I'm charging 15,000, like I got to put it all in there, really justify this price point, that's actually going to backfire on you because you're going to try and like pack it full of value. But if you are building a strategy for a team of 10 and your client has one internal person, they won't be able to execute on even remotely part of that. So they'll feel like they failed. And I want to really make sure you understand that the right strategy, it doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to have 100 moving parts. The right strategy is one that your client can actually implement and execute on based on the size of their company, their team, the budget, where they're at. I like to say we right size strategies. We want to right size the recommendations to our client. So sometimes that looks like the basics for a client. You know, if they're smaller, they don't have a big team, you might be putting a strategy together that for you as a marketer feels kind of basic. But for them, that's great. That's perfect. That's what they can do. And those are the right things versus, maybe for a more advanced client, there's a lot more going on. Okay, once you got that right, it's time to move into phase 3, which is delivery. So we're done the strategy, and I want to kind of paint the picture of what that looks like. So when the client is receiving this, they're getting a fully bespoke marketing strategy. So mine is about 50 to 80 pages per strategy. And it's going through absolutely everything: their marketing foundations, offer suite, channels, campaigns, team, their roadmap. It's very detailed and very specific to their business. And it becomes their marketing playbook for the next 6 to 12 months. But here's how I actually deliver it. And this is really important. I do not book a meeting and walk them through it live. I record a video walkthrough, and not page by page because that's an overview video walkthrough, and I send it over to them first. And the reason that's really important is because it allows them to sit with the strategy, read through everything, and actually digest it, because these strategies are comprehensive. They're a 6 to 12 month plan. And I remind them that in the video. Like, this is a lot, it might feel like a lot. This is your next year. Remember that, right? So when they get it async first, they can pause, reread it, come back to it, sit with it. And then by the time we talk to them about the strategy, they're not overwhelmed. They're bought in. So if you're curious about what my strategies look like the exact deliverable that I give to clients, how to build, how to package, how to price these, I have all of this and much more comprehensive training inside Fractional CMO School, and the link is below. Okay, I'm going to now talk about the final phase. That is phase 4, alignment and next steps. So once the client has had time to review the strategy, I usually like to give them a week to 10 days. We get on a call, and I always tell the client this is a client-led call. We're leading, we're still steering the ship, but I want them to come prepared with questions and thoughts and maybe some sections they want to dig into the most. So I usually kick off these calls. I open up with the big picture. So here's what I'm seeing. Here are the biggest opportunities. And then I let them drive. So ask any questions they have, really dig into sections they might want to chat through. And I will say, not every client is going to show up prepared, and that's okay. But you do want to be prepared. You want to be prepared for that to happen so that you can jump in and walk them through certain parts. And I'll tell you what to do if that happens. We're not going to go through page by page. That is so overwhelming and there's no way you'll get through it in time. But what we'll do is we give a high level, like a bird's eye view of the strategy. And then I like to zoom into pieces that are either super important or that require a little bit more context around my thinking and how I landed on that and why it's really important. Okay, so now we're at the end of the call. This is where you take the lead back. So, regardless of what's going on, what questions are coming up, where the conversation's at, those last 5-10 minutes or so is when you step back in and lead the meeting and you kind of rally around the client. So there's kind of two paths. Number one is if you have a client and you have pre-agreed to move from strategy into a retainer agreement, this is where you talk them through exactly what to expect. So here's next steps. Here's what we're going to do from here. You want them to feel relieved, like, oh my gosh, I have this leader. I'm so excited. This plan is so great. And I just get to sit back and let them bring this to life. Like, how great is that? And this is your first chance at showing them how you get to show up as a leader in their business and how you can support them. Now, for those clients that you are not working with yet on an ongoing basis, maybe you just sold them on strategy initially, this is where you have the opportunity to potentially sell them on working with you on an ongoing basis. So you've just delivered this really comprehensive strategy. You understand their goals, their gaps, their team, their biggest opportunities, probably honestly better than they do at this point. And now you're sitting across from a client who's bought in, who trusts your thinking, and who's excited. So they just saw firsthand what it looks and feels like to have someone lead their marketing. So that's the perfect opportunity to talk about next steps. And I like to, if I'm doing this, save about 10 minutes at the end of the call to pitch them on the best package for them based on their budget, their team, and what I think they're going to need from support going forward. Okay, so now you know the 4 phases. Building a strategy at this level is how you're able to charge $20,000 for a strategy. It's not just the thinking, it's the process, the deliverable, all of the pieces. So if you want to learn exactly how to build, price, and sell strategies like this, that is what Fractional CMO School is for. I teach all of that. And you get my strategy templates, real client examples of completed strategies, and detailed trainings on every single phase of this process and exactly how I pitch and sell these to clients. Every single thing you need to go out and build your own 10, 15, 20K strategy packages yourself. The link is below if you're interested, and I will see you in the next video.